I'm Allison Ziggy, and you are joining me for the first episode of Princess Uninterrupted of 2026. And I am fresh off of a crash out, baby. I crashed out so that you don't have to. If you have been approaching this year and you're like, this is my year, I feel it, things are shifting, I'm going to help you avoid the mistake that most people make when setting resolutions and setting you up for the utmost success in 2026 and beyond. Now we all hear resolutions don't work. Maybe you didn't even set resolutions because you're like, they don't work. I'm here to help you actually use time intentionally to make this the best year that you've ever had. To actually believe and start each day like it can be the best thing that ever happened to you, and actually get you onto a different timeline so you aren't playing the repeat cycles, so that you don't press play on podcasts like this in 2027, in 2028, and just forevermore, and it feels like nothing changes and you're just subject to living the life that has been given to you, and no matter what you do, it doesn't change. That is not what we're here for. And I'm here to help you create a version of reality that feels so spectacular, that feels so real and true and self-expressed. Like it pushes you beyond what you believe that you're capable of, so that you can actually fully feel your purpose. You can feel empowered. You can feel like it's safe to express yourself. Like you can show up every day and you actually have the power to have a say in what happens in your life, as opposed to living from this place of reaction where same day, different bullshit. I'm here to help you actually change your life, not just your circumstances, not just the way that you view your life, but the way that you view yourself. Here's why resolutions don't work. Most people see an area of their lives that is not working and they're like, I want to change this. This is where my goal is. This was me with money for so long. Newsflash, the problem was never money. I was making a lot of money from a very young age, even when I was mismanaging it. It was never money. Money was never the problem. Problem was always self-image, and the problem was always like believing in my own voice and doing what I wanted to do. Even when I was making over 220K a year, I felt like I had no money. I felt like I was just spending all of it. I was living in New York because I wasn't making it the way that I wanted to be making it. I wasn't making it through my soul-aligned gifts. I wasn't making it through bringing my voice into the world. It felt like I was able to create it through the avenues that did not feel aligned. But when it came to what I actually wanted to do and my will and my purpose and my voice and my creativity and my gifts, it didn't work. And so when I was viewing life through this place, it was always through this lens of like, never enough, not enough, can't do it. And then guess what happened? I ended up losing my job. And I was like, okay, this is my time. Let's go. Let's do this. But I was so scared. Oh my gosh, I was terrified. It was all that I had been manifesting, was going full-time in my business. I had written down on a piece of paper, this is like a manifestation technique where you write down things in the present tense. And I had written down, I am full-time in my business by August 31st, 2023. And I kid you not, I ended up leaving corporate for good September 5th, 2023. I manifested it down to the day. And I was like, this is my time. I went on the most life-changing trip of my life. I spent a month in Europe. I came back and I had all these conferences lined up. I'm like, I'm set up for success. This is going to work. I did this crazy launch. I called it the Goal Detox. And it was 5 days of Instagram Lives. I'm going to do it. I'm going to show up. And guess what? I put in all that effort. Where were the clients? It didn't convert. I was like heartbroken. Like so, and it's like the dead of winter. I'm spending $5,000 on my rent in New York City. My primary income source has been cut. And I'm just so sad. I ended up getting offered a job that I turned down because there was just like huge red flags for how I had even like left corporate. I was like, I'm going to take a chance and go in on myself. Everything that I tried to manifest bombed, dive bombed, did not happen. I was so afraid to create because I was so afraid of losing what I already had, even though I had manifested everything in a path that wasn't ultimately aligned. Like I had my New York life based on my corporate tech persona, which was no more. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm seeing all these coaches on the internet do all these crazy things. Like that's going to be me. But I had so much fear and so much shame. And it caused this perpetual freeze mode. And I ended up losing everything that I had ever manifested because I was stuck in this cycle of believing that my best was the best that I was ever going to get. My goal was to maintain. My goal wasn't to strive towards more. It was impossible to wrap my mind around how I could support myself It stifled all my dreaming. There's a quote that I absolutely love. There's a difference between playing to not lose and playing to win. And I just went into this place of playing to not lose. I was living so much below what I was capable of creating because I was just stifled by fear. And again, the problem was never the money. The problem was the self-image. It was the way I viewed myself and what I viewed myself as capable of creating. And so I went through the ultimate dark night of the soul last year, and it was so hard. I traded in my apartment, traveled a lot, and put my stuff in storage. I ended up moving in with my mom with my cat and traveling. I found myself really drawn to Philadelphia, and I've been here for a long time, but it was like rebuilding from scratch. Like, yes, the money was a physical byproduct of the rebuilding, but I'm talking about the sense of identity after loss. And just after it feels like everything that you want goes sideways. You lost everything you were fighting so hard to maintain, and you have to start over. And you have to love yourself in those moments where it looks like everything fell away. But beyond that, trusting yourself enough to dream again. So this leads me to the crash out. I had this beautiful moment when we were starting 2026, and I was like, wow, this is the first time in years, probably since 2022, that I'm actually dreaming, like that I'm actually like able to think expansively about what's next, where there's no fear. I've learned how to support myself. I've learned like money comes through all these different avenues. I feel supported in my life, regardless of what happens. Everything goes wrong, I still have my own back. It doesn't change the way that I view myself. We're good. So many lessons learned. Okay. So then I was coming into this new year, and I was doing these rituals and doing these routines and like thinking of things and ways to set things up and have the best year, listening to the trainings, and I'm doing everything every day, journaling, and I'm meditating. I'm doing my best day ever creative visualization. This is free on my site. Download it literally right now because it's incredible and it's the best thing ever. I do it every morning. I'm doing all these things, and then I hit a wall, and I come face to face with my goal. I have a number that I want to hit, and I want to hit it through my business. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. And I hit a wall, and I run into that version of myself who had been setting the goals from lack. And even though we're coming at it from a completely different place, I start to feel my survival instincts kick in my body. I start to feel really tired. When I start to think about my writing and I start to think about like promoting my coaching, I start to like really clam up. It just started to create really uncomfortable sensations. I got this really uncomfortable sensation in my arm. My back started to feel it. And I was just like, I felt so threatened for survival, even though I was like putting out there what I wanted to do, and I was supported, and I was learning all the things, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. It was the first time I felt safe enough to set a goal after all this loss. And I felt so unsafe to my nervous system because it felt so unsafe to my identity. And if you're experiencing this, this is why most people don't hit their New Year's resolutions. Action alone won't get you to where you want to go. As an Aries fire starter, like if you tell me what to do, I will do it, but that is not what it means to lead in your purpose. To show up in your purpose is to trust what is intuitively coming through. You know what to do. You know what actions to take. Oftentimes there's just this block internally where it feels like cloudiness, or it feels like confusion, or it feels like, what if I don't know what to do? And you start to question, and you start to just be like, but it's not true. That's fog. That's noise. And you don't need to buy into it. What did I do in my crash out? I had to really face the root cause of those emotions on a subconscious level. And they didn't start when I was in my New York apartment trying to hold on to my dream life that I had created through corporate. And newsflash, that wasn't even my dream life. That was a different version of dream life. I believe that anything you trade in, you can upgrade and up level. So this started when I was 3, and through a subconscious exercise that I did today with a practitioner. It was wild how there was this part of myself that had been feeling so unsafe and so abandoned and so shameful, who felt like it wasn't safe to show up and felt like it wasn't safe to go through these things. These are our defense mechanisms internally. This is why your subconscious programming will run your life. Your subconscious programming determines what you're capable of creating. You can consciously put in the effort and take the actions and show up every day. But then what happens when you start to not see results is when your subconscious programming starts to mirror back to you all your limiting beliefs and all the reasons that you haven't broken past this level yet. If you knew how to break past this level, you would already be past it. It's not a matter of discipline and buckling down. Yes, action is absolutely important. If you have a dream, you have a passion, you have a way that you want to show up in the world, it is a prerequisite to show up in some way every single day. Honoring yourself, honoring your routine. This is why I love my morning practice of just connecting to me, connecting internally, creating with what's possible, journaling. This is your connection to that internal voice. That is, again, prerequisite. But really what's going to get you there is upgrading your identity on a subconscious level and no longer letting the traumatized 3-year-old version of yourself tell you what's safe to show up for. You need to give this part of yourself another role. I've been rewiring my subconscious mind since 2019. I've been working with clients since 2021. And it's just so interesting how these are the kind of things that you could never perceive on your own. I knew that it was my subconscious mind, but I wasn't able to identify exactly what part of me was feeling unsafe. When you really look back, it really is going back to the first time that you felt a certain sensation and realizing that it's just like a ripple out from a stone. You know, when you throw a stone into a pond and it creates those ripples, those initial sensations are what create the reverberations that you experience. And it's why you feel unsafe when you start to take actions in a way that threatens how you see yourself. And as soon as I did that exercise, I went to the grocery store, got myself clean, nourishing foods. I sent an email to somebody about an event that I had been avoiding. This morning, I wrote on my Substack a post and it was about shame, which was so ironic because it was like this emotion was coming up because it was ready to be released. These practices are so important because that version of me, if I never would have released that, I would still be laying on the couch in a sweatshirt, feeling gross, wondering why it wasn't working, or forcing myself to create a piece of content because I felt like it wasn't happening fast enough. I promised myself to never put that energy into what I'm creating. If you're familiar with human design, I am a 6'3". I am a trial and error girl. I crashed out by trying to purely effort this. And I was doing a lot of subconscious rewiring this week. And my body was just like, you need to slow down. This is not safe. And so that's the first mistake that most people make when setting a goal is like setting a goal that doesn't feel safe to your nervous system. You can say that you want to have 10,000 followers, that you want to make $20,000 a month in your business, that you want all of these clients, you want to work with 50 people this year. But if your body doesn't perceive it as safe, or you have this limiting belief about what you're doing and you don't really believe in it, it will hold you back every single time. You cannot outperform your subconscious programming. You cannot effort your way out of a belief system that's corroded. And if you do, you're going to lose the manifestation. I don't say this to scare you. I say this as somebody who has experienced this firsthand. I look at that apartment that I had in New York City, my dream apartment, which honestly, I didn't even have natural light. I need natural light. Like, how could that be my dream apartment? It's also like a very masculine space, which I low-key kind of loved. But at the same time, if I look at my actual dream setup, if I could create anything for my life, it was not that. But I was so scared of losing it from the second I signed that lease. I was scared to tell people how much I was paying because I thought they were going to judge me. I judged myself for being bad with money. I had all these fears, all these things that I made it mean. And guess what? I wasn't even able to dream in that space because I was so scared of losing what I had that I ended up losing it. Yes, it was an empowered choice that I made to leave, and I could have chosen to stay in corporate and stayed there. But I lived in fear. It was a cage. It wasn't a conducive home environment that I felt safe. And that's why this work is so important. I had manifested everything I thought I wanted, but not from an identity that supported creating it. You upgrade your identity through upgrading your self-image, which is the way that you see yourself. And this is all done on a subconscious level. And you start to prove to yourself the ways that you are worthy of everything that you're creating. I love working with other people on this. I really think it helps to have somebody else peer into this for you because you only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't have access to your blind spots. I never would have realized that the traumatized 3-year-old version of me was so shameful that she was embarrassed to go after what she really wanted, and she was holding herself back and didn't feel capable or worthy of creating what she wanted, and she felt like it was safer to hide. That's not logical, but it's crazy because then you start to see the results. And then when you take actions from a different place, when your belief systems actually support the life that you're creating and the dreams that you have, you get different outcomes and create a different version of reality for yourself. Things that used to feel unsafe to your nervous system start to become normal. This is a continual process. If you don't like the results that you're seeing in your life right now, you have the power to change anything. Everything that you're creating. And that can be empowering or disempowering. And I do believe that there's soul contracts and there's certain lessons that are unavoidable. If you're listening to this and you're in a challenging situation and you're trying to hold on and figure out what to do, loosen that grip and let it go, because anything that you have to hold on that tightly to, you'll probably feel better on the other side of letting it go. And all the situations where I felt like I would never find my way back from ended up being the biggest blessings of my entire life. All the mistakes that I made are such embodied wisdom. Through this last year, even though it was challenging and I faced my biggest nightmare, I faced it like as someone who is so ambitious and prides myself on having a successful career, struggling in those first few years. Let's be real, I've had a business for 7 years. That was so hard for my ego. But it was through that process, I learned to love myself even when it looks like things weren't going my way, number one. Number two, I received love from others even when things were challenging. And number three, I learned that my self-image was not directly correlated to anything that I was experiencing externally. So that is where, if I can give you one piece of advice that you take away from this entire episode, reality has a lag. As you're doing the work and upgrading your self-image, and as you're upgrading your subconscious beliefs and starting to take action, you need to trust that even if reality hasn't caught up yet, it is very much working. If you believe that it's working, it's going to keep working, and you're going to be presented with the right people, the right circumstances, the right situations, the right opportunities that will make that even more true. Maybe I'm one of those people who's meant to help you. This is why we're here, to live fully self-expressed lives that feel so good, to experience being human, trusting ourselves, and overcoming the trauma we faced in the past, overcoming situations we never thought we would, forgiving people from our past, and becoming the best versions of ourselves, regardless of what's happened, in spite of what's happened, because of what's happened. You truly can create anything that you want for this year. And if you're at a place where you're burnt out on your resolution, you didn't set one because they never work, or you've been trying and it's not working, just throw all those stories away and realize that you have the power to create anything you set your heart to. And if it feels like you're taking effort and it's not quite unfolding the way that you want it to, it's because of a limiting belief, a subconscious block, a self-image gap. That's the formula. And the way that this all works together is like your beliefs get trapped in your body. There needs to be a somatic release process to move that through the body. There's so many of these, like breathing, even as I take you through breathing techniques and coming into the present moment. That's huge. That's why I do somatic release and breath work with my clients. That's why even Reiki can really help with releasing stuck energy from the body. But it's all correlated and related. And that's why when you get these things into alignment and you set your heart on your goal, like you're like, I'm going to show up fully embodied in my purpose, you're going to be presented with all of the reasons that hasn't been possible yet. And you need to, I don't even want to say it's like fight through, because it's not working against yourself. It's working with the triggers that are coming up, because on the other side of that is the version of yourself you've always been meant to be. The version of yourself that you're capable of becoming, and the version of yourself who would make your inner child proud. And not even that, just the life that you're in awe of, like getting to travel and see the planet, getting to show up every day and do meaningful work, and actually feeling like your voice makes a difference, and actually feeling lit up and inspired, where you're able to face challenges and realize that they're making you better, where you get to create through art and meet other soulmate humans who just help you feel more alive, and where you feel like you can fully express yourself and actually show up as you and not need to edit or alter or filter yourself, and just be like, this is me, and be absolutely loved for it. Even when you're facing challenging seasons, and especially when you're facing challenging seasons. If you need help creating a vision for 2026, I would love to do that. I have alignment calls, which are completely free to set up. And I also have that best day ever creative visualization, which I mentioned at the beginning. But creative visualization is one of my favorite techniques for upgrading self-image, because it's this process of meditation, but you're actually visualizing yourself experiencing what you're desiring. And so you can start to see whenever you're manifesting something, does this feel safe and good in my body, or is this causing nervous system sensations that are indicating this doesn't feel safe? Once you start to kind of track and notice those things, they start to shift because you're paying attention. A lot of people are just living on autopilot and they're kind of numbing the sensations that come up because it isn't safe to feel these things. It isn't safe to look at these things. Like, I can't look at that. I can't feel that. It's not safe because they were created from an initial situation that didn't feel safe. Here's where you're going. I want you to think of a meaningful goal that you'd like to set this year and write it somewhere that you can see it. Like something fun, not something like, if I don't manifest this much money, I have to move out of my apartment and I'm a loser. Guilty of that in 2024. So no, that doesn't work. Here, that's me being like, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. Don't do that. But something that is on your heart where you're just like, it is time to experience this, and write it down and look at it. And if you start to notice areas that feel unsafe around it, you can release them through the body. I love breath work. I love EFT tapping. These are all techniques that I'm a practitioner for. But just start to notice what comes up. What's the self-image gap between the version of yourself who has that and the version of yourself that you are now? And write down the qualities that correspond to the version of yourself who already has that. This is my quantum calendar masterclass. That's literally what we do, making a list of where's the gap. So this is your reminder. If you crashed out, it's okay. It's actually an indicator you're about to level up. And if you are looking for additional support, I would absolutely love to help you. I'm going to include the link to set up an alignment call with me and then a link to the creative visualization in the show notes. And then maybe that little journaling exercise of what do you want? And what is the difference between the version of yourself who has that and the version you are now? How do you perceive the version of yourself who has that? And how do you perceive yourself now? Where is the gap? That's what you need to rewire. This is so valuable. I love you so much. I'm so happy you're here. Make today the best day ever. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me for this week's episode of Princess Uninterrupted.